Hello, today we're going to build the authentication system to protect our data. Let's get into it. By the end of this video, anyone who visits the to-do routes need to be authenticated first. Otherwise, he or she will see this error message. And in order to sign in, the user needs to go to the signing routes and give the credentials. And here's a button to sign out, but let's go to the to-dos. So now he or she can see this admin page. We'll need to use another library to help us protect the user credential. And this library is body hashers. The basic usage is to call the hashers derive a hashed password, and then the hasher check the plain text password with the hashed version of the password, and it returns a boolean of true and false. First, let's add the body hasher to our dependency and jack in the cider repo. By the way, because right now we are getting into the security realm, it's important to have a different session key on your server. Please do not use the session key that comes with the template. Here's a way to generate a session key. It might not be the optimal way, but this is how I generate it. This is a Python 3 file. You can just save it and then run it on your server, or you can go to your bash command line and then type in everything that's in the file. What it basically does is to include all these uppercase and lowercase strings plus the digits, and then randomly choose 16 of them. That's all it does. Now we want to start by creating a middleware file. So this file, we need to include the Coast responses. In this file, we need a middleware function which takes a handler and then return another handler function. So we have a if expression. We want to get inside our request and find the session key and check the member email key. If we did actually get the session info, then we call the handler as usual. And if not, we give a forbidden information. This response is a regular ring response that has a status code of 403 and with the body. Let's go to our routes. What we want to do is we want to wrap our resource to do inside our new middleware. The Coast with function will wrap every route in with this middleware we just created, and of course we need to include that as well. Now we can evaluate this file and go to our server and kick up the server again. Go back to our page, and if we go to to-dos, we see the error message. All the authentication middleware does is just checking the session. We still need a way to put the member email key in the session at the first place. Let's start by adding a few more routing rules. Go to the routes namespace. And first we want to have a page where a user can submit the signing info. And then we want to have an endpoint to submit the signing information. So this is a post endpoint. And once user is authenticated, we want to show the user dashboard. We also want to have a delete endpoint to sign out the user. So that's all we need for now. Let's start with the session namespace. So we need 3 handlers. We need the build handler, We need the create handler. We also need the delete handler. Let's start with the build, which is just a simple form where we can submit our signing information. We need a container. This is a helper component that we created in our components namespace. And we want the maximum width just 6. H1 signing, so that it's obvious that we are in the signing page. If we found any error inside our request map, then we want to show a div. Under normal circumstances, we just want to call the form for and give the create key. This is just session create key. Also want the input from our components namespace, and it has a type of email. Also another input for password. At last, we want to have a submit. First of all, we want to require codes, and then secondly, components, preferred container, input, and submit. If you are following along, now you can evaluate this function. Go back to the routes, server, restart, and go to signing. You should be able to see this page we just built. One little thing is I want to change the style of this submit button. Let's go to the submit button. Instead of doing a margin left, let's do a margin right. But in the meanwhile, there's another thing we want to change is the link to, we want to the margin right as well. This is not super important, but it just looks nicer this way. And now you can refresh it. We have the boxes aligned. Now on to the create handler. This handler gets called whenever someone submits the signing form. And first of all, we're using a left binding to get our email. We are reaching inside the request map, parameters, and member/email. Then we are checking the existing email record. After those two are done, this is a bit of a tricky part. We want to use the thread first macro to get the parameters map out from the request map. Select the member email key and the member password key, and then we are calling a coast validate function to first validate the email. So we are telling the member/email this has to conform a email format. We also want both keys to be required. We'll break down this in a bit. After both of them are done, we want to get out the password. Second to the last thing is hashes check to check whether it is the same as the password inside the member record. Here's a helpful function, rescue. This will wrap the whole thing inside a vector. This will be a two-tuple vector, and the first one is the output of the evaluation, and then the second one will be any error that got caught along the way. Once we have that, we will just want to test if we have any error or the password is not valid. If any of the case, we want to send our user back to the build handler, and we want to insert the error into the request map. If we don't have any error, then we can do a post redirect to the member/dashboard. Also, we want to insert the user information into the session. Let's break down the validation a little bit. Let's write a comment block. Assume that we have the data. We use this as the first argument to run the validation. Let's just check the email, and we can run this again. And you can see the validation doesn't change the shape of the data if everything passes. Let's give a bad email address. When I'm trying to execute it, the exception happened. So this is where the coast rescue function is very handy. You can just run coast rescue. Instead of giving you an exception, you get back a vector, and the first value will become nil, and the second value will become the exception data. And again, if you have a perfectly fine email address, what you get back is just the map itself, and the error will become nil. We can quickly finish up the rest of the handlers. The delete handler will return a redirect to build, and also associate the session to nil. And don't forget to include the hashers. Now go to the members. This one is just a dashboard, so I'm going to do this quickly. Give a title of dashboard and create a form for our logout. Don't forget we need to create a database migration as well. Now we can run the migration. Note that we don't have any member record inside our database, so we need to insert them manually. Let's add one more comment block and require the hasher. Let's add a record, and then we can update the password value using the hashers derive. And we can check our intermediate result now. And then we just call Coast insert to insert the record. We can now put everything together, the signing, and we can see the dashboard now, and you should be able to go to to-dos and then click on sign out. And once you sign out, so this is our to-do app. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.